These are the largest ants I have ever kept, and I built them this beautiful vivarium out of this glass box. I'll show you how I did it and if they accepted their new home in this video. Enjoy! We are starting with a 20 by 20 by 20 centimeter glass box. To help it slide smoothly on surfaces, we'll attach felt pads to the corners. This also allows us to place heating mats under the box without causing heat to build up. Now we'll add expanded clay. This material is absorbent, takes in excess moisture and slowly releases it again. I'm filling the clay up to the level of the emergency drainage port so water can be drained if necessary. To prevent the soil from mixing with the clay and soaking up all the water, we'll place a drainage fleece in the vivarium. This also prevents root rot in our plants. Of course, I link all the materials I used in the description. For the soil, we're using rainforest soil this time. It's well suited for the plants and the humid, warm climate we are creating for the ants. We will mix it with activated charcoal and we are eyeballing the amount. The charcoal filters pollutants, binds odors and prevents mold. To make the soil easy to shape, reduce dust and help the plants feel at home, I'm moistening the mixture bit by bit until it becomes a pleasantly damp mess. For some nice dimensions, a piece of tropical driftwood goes into the vivarium, which I have special plans for. Then comes the soil, which is spread into all the corners. Time to close the side ports for now. Then we can also fill the gaps and form a small plateau in the corner. I gently press down the soil again and again so that any potential tunnels won't collapse easily. I'm also filling the back area and starting to form a slope. This will look great with the plants and allow us to observe the ants better than if everything were flat and hidden. The first plant is the Ficus pumila and the minuta variation. This ground cover has sweet, heart-shaped leaves, stays small and likes it warm and humid. Ideal for our vivarium. This beautiful pink and green earth bromeliad is a Camponotus bivitatus and is a real eye-catcher in any vivarium. The ants will stand out wonderfully against it and it brings more variety into the setup. Third, we have a small unknown ground cover and a Charita tamiana. This one develops a small flower with small, sweet white blossoms, making it a perfect fit for the lower corner of the vivarium. I can't wait to see it bloom. And no vivarium is complete without moss. I've propagated this myself and I'm happy to bring a bit more sustainability into my vivariums. I place the moss purely by feel, and this step is always especially nice because moss makes the vivarium cozy, much like a carpet does with a home. The moss is already inhabited by springtails, which I usually add to vivariums anyway. They feed on mold as well as plant and food scraps, keeping the vivarium clean and fresh. Once everything was in place, the small unknown ground cover also got its moment. Do you happen to know what it is? I hope it doesn't overrun the rest of the vivarium. We are moving into the final phase of the vivarium and small stones are finding their place as a small dry creek bed. But they are also great here and there as small details to create accents. Small pebbles are well suited for uniting the larger stones into a single picture and rounding it out, a bit like the underlying harmony for a symphony. A little bit here, a little bit there, and the vivarium is complete. I showered the entire vivarium with distilled water so the moss would feel especially comfortable and the plants, which have had a long transport, get a head start to root well and refresh themselves. We'll let the whole thing sit overnight and look forward to the next day, because that's when this mystical, fog-veiled vivarium awaits us. And what's hidden behind this fog is none other than the future home of our giant ants. The creek bed turned out very well and the route leads perfectly to the opening. The light morning dew has settled on the heart-shaped leaves that hug the root, and the moss leads us to our little highlight, the pink bromeliad. It's as if we've taken a small cube directly from the rainforest and brought it into our ant room. I can't wait to see how the plants will develop and how everything settles in. I find it nice to see how my experience from my previous vivariums is evident here, and I can't wait to design the next one. Feel free to make suggestions in the comments for which ant species or vivariums you'd like to see, but today we already have a species, and it's a very special one. These gigantic ants are up to 2 centimeters long, and when they stretch their legs, they can easily span 4 centimeters. That makes them by far the largest ants I have ever kept, and also one of the largest ant species in the world. And with their body, they shimmer, sometimes silver and sometimes even gold. This comes from their dense hair, which covers almost their entire body like fur. It surprises many people that ants actually have hair and not just a regular smooth exoskeleton. Also particularly striking is the large purple head, which looks as if it's been painted on. It stands out clearly from the body and looks almost as heavy as the gaster. And those powerful mandibles are not something any prey item wants to find itself in. When they are full, they often just wait patiently, especially when they had a lot of agave nectar again. They also spread this everywhere, letting everyone know how much they love sweet things. But what does it look like inside the test tube? Finding that out isn't so easy, because the workers are excellent at defending themselves and can spray formic acid. So I'm carefully trying to plug the nest with soft cotton, which allows me to remove the core of a colony from the arena. This immediately creates a wild frenzy, and rightfully so. The ants immediately try to dig their way through the cotton to ensure the colony's survival. And right in the middle, we find what we are looking for the most: the queen. She is even larger than her workers and very easy to spot. She is, by a huge margin, the largest ant I have ever seen in person. Her gaster also have a gold-silver touch, giving her a majestic appearance. Right below her, we can even spot one of a few major workers, which are almost the size of a queen and have an even larger head. You really don't want to mess with them. They are also helping to dig out of the tube. But before we put them in the vivarium, I have a little unannounced surprise for you. We are going to connect the small nest to the vivarium. Since ants can't see red light, the red panel simulates darkness for them, and it has 4 pre-made chambers that the ants can inhabit. The chambers are made of absorbent concrete, also known as white tongue or E-tongue. It can absorb water and release it gradually. The ants can choose the chamber that they like best, and at the same time, the nest isn't so large that the ants might store trash in it. I'm using a second nest because on one hand, our ants are reluctant to dig, but more importantly, they are considered challenging to keep. In the vivarium, there are damper, drier, warmer and colder spots. But to really offer the ants every possible option so they can definitely feel comfortable and can grow, I'm offering them this nest as well. After all, the vivarium looks great, but looks alone aren't enough to feel at home. And if they don't want the nest, we can easily remove it without having to dig up anything from the vivarium. Aesthetic Ants was so kind to supply us with a nest, and I couldn't be more grateful to have them as a sponsor for this video. They feature a lot of different high quality ant equipment for every situation, so every ant feels at home. And they got an exciting selection of ants in their store as well. I ordered already multiple times from Aesthetic Ants, and they even offer the Camponotus Singularis shown in this video. And additionally, they also offer the viewers of our channel a 10% discount code when ordering from their shop. To use it, just select the items you want and use the code COZYANTS10 to claim your discount. You can find the link to their shop in the description, and there you will also find a link to their YouTube channel, which also features high quality ant videos. Check them out and send them some love from our Cozy Ants ant channel. Now there's nothing left for us to do but to observe our ants in this form one last time and very carefully place them in the vivarium. As mentioned, the ants have some formic acid, and if they panic in small enclosed spaces due to strong vibrations, for example, and attack with the acid, they can't escape it themselves and can potentially harm themselves. With a gentle movement, I removed the cotton plug and waited anxiously for the reaction. Curious antennae probed the outside world, clearly gripped by curiosity. Tiny steps for us, but giant ones for our ants. Thousands, if not millions of smells flooded in, and slowly but steadily they began to take in their environment. I was astonished by the courage of workers and fascinated by their elegance. Their cautious confidence suited the ants well, and watching them explore the vivarium was a small dream come true. The first worker found herself on the Ficus and mapped out her surroundings centimeter by centimeter with her dancing antennae. Resting guards automatically positioned themselves in front of the nest entrance, keeping an eye out for potential enemies. After all, the ants don't know that they are safe. The root, being the most prominent feature, was no challenge for the ants' good climbing skills. And the moment the first worker reached the metaphorical summit, my heart skipped a beat. A worker dived under the bromeliad, through the moss, and coming face to antennae with her was impressive. It was only when I saw her climbing the glass that I noticed one of her legs was injured and immobile. I wondered when she might have hurt it or if she was born that way. But she still made it safely back to the nest, proving once again how resilient these workers are. There wasn't much going on in the nest test tube. And unfortunately, the dirty glass from the inside doesn't give us the view we'd wish for. But with a few tricks, I was able to catch a good glimpse of the queen, who was calmly directing her workers. And here, behind a wall of legs, you could briefly see the brood pile. It was also great that we can now observe the workers up close as they clean themselves, ensuring the antennae don't miss the slightest detail. Our injured worker didn't slack off either. I think we should give her a name. Feel free to write name suggestions for her in the comments. But we still have more workers in the temporary arena. We can now transfer them into the vivarium as well. This isn't so easy, and since the ants are unexpectedly strong, they not only hold onto the spring steel tweezers, but also regularly give me a small fright. One can easily drop the tweezers or a worker. Luckily, while they are large, they aren't particularly fast. I placed the ants directly in front of a nest opening so they would have a familiar scent to orient themselves. But the ants have other plans. Effortlessly, they started their extended expedition over the bromeliad, and the contrast of the ant against the plant was great. But the rest of the vivarium was also not safe from the tireless workers. Due to their size, the ants are hard to miss, and their full attention was on every detail of the vivarium. I saw them repeatedly at the opening to the second nest, but it wasn't time yet. Instead, the top of the root became a new hotspot of the vivarium. And as I was watching this, I was completely surprised by a brave ant who without hesitation entered the new nest. This was the moment of truth. What this ant reports back will carry great weight for the further exploration of a nest. In the meantime, a worker were also repeatedly testing the escape barrier. I used paraffin oil for this again, on which the ants can get a grip. Especially with ants of this size, you have to apply it very broadly, and I hope I made it secure enough. A second ant dared to approach the opening of the second nest but decided to turn back, while the first adventurer comfortably cleaned herself. But she wasn't the only daring explorer. Her sisters were also ready, or maybe not. But a second attempt was made, and with a great deal of skepticism, she gave herself a little push only to land in the second nest as a through portal. We'll probably never know exactly what that feels like for the ants, but it must be like discovering a new world. They also seemed to feel safe because they were cleaning themselves and made no secret of the fact that they were in absolutely no hurry. A good sign for the second nest. And sometimes when you run into a dead end, you just put it in reverse. Every time the ants travel through the second nest into the vivarium, they leave behind a scent trail. This scent trail says what they think of the place and what's in there. More and more ants seem to get interested in the nest this way, and 2 workers in the nest became free. And in even less time, a 4th joined the team. This is slowly starting to feel like a potential apartment viewing, and the ants were already exchanging notes in the connecting tube. The news seemed to spread like wildfire, and all signs were green that the second nest was being considered as a new home. The fact that we can observe the ants through the red screen and without disturbing them was a real win. And the ants seemed to see it that way too, because the test tube was suddenly in an uproar. And don't be distracted by the crowd in front of the tube, but look here on the left. And what's happening inside the tube? A worker is actually being pulled outside by another. We already know this behavior from our mini forest vivarium with the Camponotus ligniperda. They are moving. The whole thing was happening so fast that I didn't even know where to look. A traffic jam was forming in the connecting tube, and the rush didn't seem to let up. They had apparently made their decision surprisingly fast, but the old nest is also completely exposed, and the ants naturally want to get to the safety of darkness quickly. Some ants are very insensitive to this, but the Singularis don't mess around. After all, they are also easy to see for birds and other predators. Nobody would want to be clearly visible for long. We can certainly spot them easily, and in the animal kingdom, many creatures have better eyes than we do. And the move didn't stop for the queen. She too was repeatedly pulled by the mandibles towards the opening. She herself didn't seem to feel secure enough yet, but she was clearly agitated. Unlike what is often assured, queens are not the true rulers of the colony. They too are sent from A to B when the workers want it. Without the queen, the colony dies, but the colony decides where it lives. And here, accompanied by a major, she steps out of the tube for the first time. Like a queen with her bodyguard, both of them inspect everything carefully and rushed nothing. And as they waited there, larvae were already being brought past them. Now it's official. As soon as the brood is transported, there's no turning back. Only the queen was still taking her time, but she too found the courage and the determination that the colony needs in this situation. With the help of a worker, the first hurdle was climbed, and following the now strong scent trail of the workers, the queen found her way as if guided by an invisible hand. She almost filled the entire connecting tube, and the opening of the nest was just barely large enough to let her royal body through. The way she stuck her head into the nest was somewhat cute, almost as if she was checking if anyone was home, and a full house was awaiting her. With this, the enormous task was accomplished. The queen rested, and she barely noticed the hustle and bustle around her. Maybe she had expected a warmer welcome, but there was still so much to do. From a distance, you could wonderfully observe everything in its entirety, from the tube to the root, through the tube into the nest, and slowly the remaining eggs and larvae arrived in the new nest. Here they will be raised, having never known anything else. Larvae by larvae and egg bundle by egg bundle. I watch them carry the future of a colony from one place to another. This lets us look to the coming weeks and months with peace of mind. But as it goes, what had to happen happened. A very determined worker was testing the escape barrier and doing her utmost to overcome it. It's truly complete madness how well these ants can climb. They practically stick to surfaces that feel like they offer no grip at all, a skill that not all ants have. In the meantime, the workers had completely emptied the old nest and were repeatedly visited by returning workers, checking if there was anything left to carry. They then sometimes pull each other back outside, which is a bit funny, but overall they accomplished a fabulous feat. This was by far the fastest colony move I've ever observed, and it even beat the wood ants from the Rainforest Vivarium. After the work was done, only a quiet old home remained, and the workers strengthened each other by sharing the food stored in their social stomachs. I decided to let the ants rest and was already looking forward to the next day. And that day greeted us with no test tube. The vivarium was now complete and the ants were still busy claiming it for themselves. They haven't dug themselves in, but that's okay for me. I have what I want, and that is a happy ant colony. Everything else is secondary. And who knows, maybe they will start digging. Maybe they'll find a spot under the root where they don't have to dig as much. But until then, they've earned a reward. I've prepared a small cricket. The Camponotus Singularis should be able to carry these into the nest effortlessly. Placed before the entrance, they could hardly be missed. And the attack came fast and wild, unfortunately not quite so precise. But the interest was there. She nibbled here and there, and the use of her mandibles command respect. This doesn't seem very skillful though, but the ants should also be full from the last meal, and the crickets are still quite cold. So I wasn't surprised that they weren't carried into the nest right away. As soon as they get warmer and the hunger grows, they will be ready and will strengthen the colony. And this is what the new nest looks like now. Calm, cozy ants everywhere you look. The queen is wonderfully visible and we can risk a peek. Here, in blissful stillness, the queen remains surrounded by her workers. And the brood pile has been meticulously stacked. This colony is still small, but it is now fed and safe. I can't wait to see how it will develop. These larvae will eat and soon become new workers. The size difference is enormous, but I will document it and I hope you will be there for it. As a farewell, here's some more of their beloved sweet agave nectar. There's nothing they like more than this. And as soon as it was found, they help themselves. These ants are beautiful, and being able to observe them, as we can here, is beyond compare. You can even see how the workers use their mandibles wet with agave nectar to keep nibbling at the sweet syrup. There's not much more for us to do here. From now on, we just get to enjoy it, and I'll show you the next vivarium soon. If you want to see more of these videos, give this video a thumbs up and maybe even subscribe. You can also support this channel and buy the ants some food by becoming a channel member. Memberships start at €2 per month. And every bit helps to support this channel. Don't forget the code COZYANTS10 at Esthetic Ants. Thank you, Esthetic Ants again. And you can also check out the 2 video suggestions on the screen right now. And we will see each other again in a few seconds.